So it's Romie here. So before anything else, please like, comment, subscribe. Comment? How do you even comment? Please like, subscribe if you're not a subscriber. Please like this video. And this is the recap for Family Therapy Season 1, Episode 7, Traumas from the Grave. And the episode starts off where it left off, where Briana and Brittany's mom decided to go and finally tell them the truth about their father. Well, I guess now the cat's out of the bag, so their fathers. Yes, you heard me correctly, because if you saw last week's episode, or if you didn't, essentially what happened is Briana and Brittany found out that Brittany has a different father. She has a different father, and her father is dead. So, even though she's not even in a situation where she's able to go and connect with her father and speak with him and say, oh, why aren't you there type of thing. No, he was dead. What's worse is he was killed. And it was just crazy. And it was a situation where it wasn't like, oh, he was killed and he was doing some bad stuff. No, it literally was wrong place, wrong time, just horrible scenario. So the mom's over it, she's ready to go, and she's pretty much done, so she's not going to talk anymore. And you have Briana, whose daughter is there, and her daughter is 3 years old. She is so big. I'm like, kids nowadays are big. I mean, they're just growing so fast. But, and of course she's there, she's around the house, running around the house, and Sister Patterson was like, you're very cute, but, watch out for your daughter. At the end of the day, I don't like the fact that she's just so comfortable going around to strangers and saying whatever, and saying, oh, hi, my name is so-and-so. And the thing is, Sister Patterson, I get what you're saying in general, as far as she was taking that as an indication of, okay, so if she's right there with her mother and she's being that comfortable with strangers, then who's to say that she wouldn't do the same thing out on the street? I get where you were saying the timing was horrendous because, their mom just dropped a bomb on them, and you go and almost like beat up on her regarding that. You can have that opinion, you can even voice that opinion later, but your timing was bad, because what you were saying wasn't necessarily wrong, because honestly, if you really think about it, a lot of the people, if you saw the episode, maybe you didn't, a lot of the people, they weren't necessarily agreeing with what Sister Patterson was saying, because her logic behind it made sense. It's just that her timing was wrong. Her timing was wrong, and also her mom's in this house with these people who in general were already vetted, and then she also personally vetted them herself just being around them. So just having her daughter there for like a couple of hours, in her mind was like that wasn't going to do anything harm to her. So this is one of those things where the timing of it all was messed up. So Brittany went and she had to go and just talk with the guys because she was so distraught, and she was just telling them what happened, and they're like, it's really messed up. It's really messed up, but shout out to you for being so strong, because how you're handling it, I know a lot of people wouldn't be able to even process it like that. And Dr. Jen also came over to her and she's like, so what are you feeling right now? She's like, you know what? I'm kind of numb right now, because at the end of the day, there's just more things I want to ask, and it's too much. So her mom is still there. Her mom's still there, and her mom's over it because she never wanted this to come out, period. She wanted her daughter to think that the father who raised her, the father who showed her love and compassion, was actually her father by blood and not technically by marriage. But that wasn't the case. And so that's when the mom, of course, goes and divulges the fact that he was killed, and it happened in Brooklyn, and so that's why she would just pretend like he was never around. The messed up thing is there was actually a picture of Brittany when she was little, and this guy was holding her, and she always asked her mom who's the guy, and her mom said, oh, that's just a friend of the family. Instead of just being like, you know what, baby, listen here. That was actually your father. And like I said, Sister Patterson went and said what she said, but Brittany was really irritated by it because Sister Patterson even elaborated even more, and she was just like, you are not going to disrespect me as a parent, as a mother. I'm going to do whatever I want with my daughter, going to raise her how I'm going to raise her, and nothing you're going to do is going to stop me. Like, Brittany, I understand what you're coming from, shout out to you for doing so, but just breathe for a moment, because the thing, unfortunately, I hate when people do this, but when someone cries because they're trying to convey emotion while they're trying to make a point. On average, it does lose people. And when I say it loses people, people don't take them as seriously. And I feel like that's what Sister Patterson was doing. It's just like, okay, I hear you, but can you get the tears out of your eyes? Almost type of thing, type of tone. And Briana, I love the fact that even though Briana was dealing with her own stuff, she was still like, you know what, Sister Patterson, you can have your opinion, of course, but right now isn't a great time, so I'd love to refrain from anyone, period, from speaking to my sister and I, if it's going to be possibly taken in a negative way. And so Sister Patterson backed off because she's just like, you know, this is a messed up situation, so I'm not going to, in her mind, you know, she was still doing this. But that's Sister Patterson for you. That's Sister Patterson for you. Anyway, Sister Patterson was actually very calm so far. But Briana was over it because Briana was even going off just like, how can this woman who never leaves her room go and come at me and tell me that I need to create boundaries for my daughter, essentially, when all she has is boundaries. She doesn't let people in. She doesn't talk to people. She doesn't go and try to get to know people. Of course she's going to tell me to do the same thing with my daughter. Dr. Jen goes and she talks with the Dash family. And I kind of wish Stacey Dash was there, just because I know it's random. Never mind. Never mind. Alright, so the boys, they go and talk. The guys, they go and talk. And what they learn from all of this is that Dame has an issue with processing other people's feelings and really not taking them into consideration. Because Dame really, especially when it comes to Jeremy, he goes at Jeremy very hard. Bobby is older, and how it actually worked is Jeremy and Dame share the same father, different, that's why they all look different, but different mothers. And I think Bobby and Dame share the same mother. Whew, Lord Jesus. And Bobby was actually changing Damon's diapers when he was little, so it's just like, yeah, of course I knew about him. Jeremy and Dame, they didn't know of each other until a bit later. And so it kind of makes sense why their relationship dynamic is even different, because Bobby treats both of them the same. Dame definitely, I feel like he has overall more respect for Bobby than Jeremy. He just doesn't take how Jeremy handles things into consideration, like I said, because Dame is a little bit, I'm not going to say cold, but he'd be more like me in general, which is like, okay, yeah, and if it's something for me or for the average person not to get upset about, why are you getting upset about it? And Jeremy's just like, show me some respect, because when you go and essentially say, oh, I'm not a man when I go and react a certain way to how you do things, or how you would handle things, or how you've seen other people handle the same thing, then that's not fair. And they get into the screaming match, and Dr. Jen's just like, you guys need to stop. You guys need to stop, because at the end of the day, I can't deal with this whole rah, 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 rah. No, that's not how this works. This is not how things work. This is family therapy. And so, if you two cannot allow each other to talk and to speak to each other, talk and to speak to each other. And it's just like, oh, she's mad. She was like, we are done for the day. Thank you for sharing with me. Thank you for trusting me and trusting the environment that I've placed you guys in enough to be this honest with each other. Good night. I'm like, oh, you guys pissed off Dr. Jen. And I think even Damon realized that. He was just like, oh, so this is what Dr. Jen looks like when she's mad. Okay, then. So Brittany goes and she talks about what happened with the sit down with her mother. And of course she breaks down, because it's just like, you know, it sucks because this man who apparently was around me when I was a little, but everyone just pretend like he didn't exist after he was killed. I will never get to know him. I will never get to hear his voice. I will never get to fully just see him age and grow up and be around him, get to know his personality. And it's just not fair. It's just not fair that no one even told me about this. But Brittany does acknowledge the fact that at the end of the day, people, my mom did do the right thing, because I probably wouldn't have been able to handle it so well if I was younger. So she did acknowledge that. And I feel bad, because I feel like Brittany just feels like she wants to be heard and acknowledged, because she definitely seems like a good person. She definitely seems like someone who people in and all that. So, but it was great because Briana, without even thinking about it, went over to Brittany and, tried to hug her and just be there for her sister. And Dr. Jen was like, this right here, even though what happened is tragic, the fact that you and your sister, and Dr. Conti also chimed in, and he was just like, look, you actually allowed your sister to come and console you instead of push her away. You allowed her to come in, and so that was also big for you. And of course, that was great. Jeremy, I feel bad for Jeremy because Jeremy's father died, and Jeremy and Damon, I think, share the same father. He was just like, when his dad died, it sucked because Dad just wanted me to be there, and Dad was asking me, oh, how do you use the remote? How do you work this? How do you work that? And he just played it off, and now he realizes he should have spent more time with his father. He should have just been there for his father at that moment, because it really messes with him now because he was just in his own world. He was still a little bit immature and just didn't get it, and so he can never get back that moment. And we get to April. April and Bam. Their issues run very deep. April just came to the realization that Bam was, he was allowed to essentially do whatever he wanted on the TV show, and he was given this platform, and Dr. Jen was like, you were allowed to do whatever you wanted, but you decided to go and create a show centered around pranking your parents and essentially making your parents look bad, regardless of if that was the true intention or not. And so April was just talking about the story of, because Bam started to and April finished, about how she didn't know about this at the time because she was actually going to work, but when Bam and his siblings were younger, his father would go and take them, for example, to this certain road, and it was supposed to have haunted houses. And one time he even, I think, had like a fake arm go and just smack the car. And he would do things like this all the time. And of course, when you're a little kid, this will mentally mess up any little kid. I don't care. You would have to be Chucky yourself not to be messed up by your father doing something like that. And April came to I'm proud of April because April's making real strides. April quickly realized, oh my gosh, were you treating us a certain way like that once you got older, always pulling pranks and stuff because of what your father used to do to you? And Bam was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. And April, man, I feel for her because she's just finally realizing all the little things that she missed when Bam was growing up, really created this blueprint for how his life eventually turned, because she kept enabling. She also, part of enabling, ignored certain signs that she should have picked up on, or at least acknowledge. Because if she's not aware of something, she's not aware of something. But later on, she still didn't think too much of it, and so the acknowledgement wasn't there. So that didn't help out either. Dame goes and talks to Brittany, just gives her a pep talk like, you're a great person, and I really appreciate you in general because you're someone who had to deal with all you had to deal with, everything they had to deal with, and you were able to remain strong. Damon definitely acknowledges and appreciates someone who's just strong in general. And so I already knew that he was gonna like Brittany as a person because of the fact that she does seem like a strong person. And of course, Brittany's just like, Damon seems strong himself. He has certain characteristics that I would love to have as my own. I was just like, okay, but not too many, because you two are almost the same person. Let's just be real. Almost the same person. Almost the same person, if you really think about it at the core. Brittany goes and she talks to her aunt, and she's actually going to invite her aunt because she's like, I need answers. It was just like, well, yeah, actually, yes, your father's your father, and yeah, of course, I'll tell you more about him. And his family actually wanted to, now her aunt has come there, and her aunt was just like, yeah, your father's family wanted you around, and of course wanted to go and see you and all of that, but in respects to your mom and her decision to go and raise you herself, that's why they didn't come around. That's honestly the only reason why they didn't come around. Your mom thought it was the best choice for you, just growing up and all of that. Especially with how it happened, because he was having an argument with someone in Brooklyn, And so with his argument with someone in Brooklyn, when his back was turned, when he was walking away, they shot him. They shot him in the back. Of course, Brittany was over it because she was just like, I'm so upset and frustrated. But at the end of the day, my mom did make the right choice because I wouldn't have reacted well if I was younger. Now that I'm older and all the things that I've experienced, I can process this and handle it. And of course, our aunt was just breaking down and crying because she just felt so bad because it was like all that time wasted. It's just like, you are the carbon copy, the blueprint of him. Exactly like him. The face, the mannerisms, how you handle things, your personality, being goofy, all of that. You are him. So it's just like, oh, that's nice, but come on now. We're gonna have to go and acclimate her into the other side of the family because there's still a part of her that's just missing. Now, I guess Sister Patterson in New York, because the fact that it was a funeral thing and New York is pregnant and all of that, and how Sister Patterson is in general, that she wasn't gonna fly for something like that. So New York and Sister Patterson were noticeably not there, but no one made note of it. I felt bad because I'm like, after all that Britney went through, why would you go and have her be there? I understand it's about processing and all that, but this is ridiculous. She just found out her father was killed all those years ago and she never knew about it, and you're gonna have her. Someone didn't do the thinking there. So Brittany and Briana, they bounced back to the bus as well. And I'm like, okay, who was this for? Because April, she just couldn't handle it, but it was in a good way. Because April came to the realization, oh my gosh, I can't do this. It's like, wait a minute, wait. It's like, no. Because Daniel was trying to protect her. It's just like, this is a lot for her. And this has been her worst fear and all this stuff. It's just like, this isn't good. It's like, no, this is great. Because she's acknowledging the fact that she's going to aid her son into being in the casket. They're going to have a picture of him when he's younger. That's going to be the casket. And this is exactly how it's going to turn out, because everything that I've been doing up to this point has enabled him to such extremes that he will be dead. He will be in that casket. There will be nothing I can do about it. And so April had her breakthrough. Now it's time for her to follow suit. Now it's time for her to make sure she doesn't go and just clean up after anyone and do things for people without them really appreciating it or even needing assistance with it. Not overextending herself just so that she can go and feel wanted and feel needed and also not deal with her own stuff. Please like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. Come back next week. I mean, this show's really